I want to talk about more classic children's novels for today's training session. We're going to continue to build our foundation on what we know about classic children's novels so that maybe you can check out some of these and read them later on or watch some amazing adaptations that have been created. Now, our objective is to continue exploring classic children's novels that have made significant contributions to literature, focusing on their themes, characters, and, importantly, their lasting impact. Why are these considered classics? Classic children's novels are timeless works that resonate with readers of all ages. Everybody from little kids through the elderly have read and enjoyed these books. These books often address universal themes and provide valuable life lessons, making them cherished for generations. Don't forget to pause if you need to take notes or process. Let's go ahead and begin with Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Anne of Green Gables was written in 1908, and it's a beloved story about an imaginative and spirited orphan girl named Anne Shirley. She's mistakenly sent to live with Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert, a brother and sister who wanted to adopt a boy to help on their farm, but instead they end up with her. Anne ends up winning their hearts and becoming a part of their community through a variety of scenes and parts of the story. It sort of deals with those themes of family, accepting yourself, having a strong imagination, making the world a better place to be. It's had a ton of adaptations over the previous century plus. It's sort of a worldwide icon. I recently watched a video about tons of people in Japan really loving this novel and actually like traveling to Canada to sort of see the environment that it was written about. Canada really treasures this book too because Ellen Montgomery was Canadian. Anne of Green Gables is an important one to know. There's a whole lot of sequels too. Might be interesting to get into. The next book that we'll get into is The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. The Wind in the Willows from 1908 is a charming tale of adventure and friendship among animal characters. Plot overview is that the story follows Mole, Ratty, Badger, and the reckless Mr. Toad through the adventures on the riverbank and beyond. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is a ride that still exists in Disneyland, California, although I believe the Disney World in Florida version of it was taken down, partly because it was very scary for some reason. Toad's escapades, including stealing a car and escaping from prison, are central to the plot of The Wind in the Willows. Themes of friendship, adventure, home, and the natural world are present, and it's celebrated for its lyrical prose, or the way the words in the book are, and it's been adapted into various stage and film productions throughout the years. Next classic children's work we'll look at is Heidi by Johanna Spyri. This book was written all the way back in 1881, or published then anyway. And it's a heartwarming story about a young orphan girl who goes to live with her grandfather in the Swiss Alps. Plot overview is that Heidi's cheerful and loving nature transforms the lives of her grandfather and the villagers. She later moves to the city to be a companion to a sick girl named Clara, but longs to return to the mountains. Themes of nature, innocence, the healing power of love, and the importance of home. And the novel's been translated into many languages and remains a beloved classic inspiring multiple adaptations. Keep in mind that these are not frequently just books that are considered classics in America or Great Britain or something. These are frequently loved and cherished worldwide. It's been out since 1881, so it's been translated into basically every language there is, and it's been enjoyed by people in all across the world, which is common with many of these classics. They don't just stand the test of time, they're something that are almost universally loved. Let's look at Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Little Women from 1868 is a coming-of-age story about the four March sisters during the Civil War era. The novel follows Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy March as they grow up and navigate the challenges of life, love, and family. Each sister has distinct dreams and personalities contributing to the rich tapestry of the story. This one is very, very famous. You probably have family or friends that have read this, or at least watched an adaptation. There was one that came out as recent as 2019, I believe, that won a bunch of awards and things like that. It's pretty wild for a book that came out in 1868 to still be connecting with modern audiences like ones like Little Women do. If you get questions about Little Women, you're frequently going to get them about the characters and their distinct personalities. It would really be, as you kind of grow in your knowledge of literature, this is one, whether it sounds interesting or not to you, that you probably want to explore at some point just because of how impactful it's been on literature as a whole. One of my personal favorites, and one we read back in middle school, was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Hobbit from 1937 is a fantasy novel that introduces readers to the rich world of Middle-earth. If you've heard of The Lord of the Rings, this is sort of like the prelude to this. This is a prequel to it. And is a lot easier to get into than those books are, though I love those books as well. Plot overview is that the story follows Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit who is reluctantly drawn into an adventure by the wizard Gandalf and a group of dwarves seeking to reclaim their homeland from the dragon Smaug. Bilbo's journey involves encounters with trolls, elves, goblins, and the creature Golem. Themes include adventure, heroism, bravery, and the journey from innocence to experience. The novel's been immensely popular, leading to a series of films and setting the stage for Tolkien's later work, The Lord of the Rings. These novels in particular went on to sort of influence basically fantasy as a genre as it would exist for almost the next century. If you haven't read this, you absolutely should. There are also 3 movie adaptations, with the first coming out that came out in, I believe, 2012. That is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Sample question for discussion. This one being a little bit different than the ones we went off of, but I wanted to kind of mix it up. The question is, Old Yeller, Winn-Dixie, Old Dan, and Little Ann are all classic children's lit characters that belong to which of the following animal categories? Now, for this one, you're probably not going to be able to find the answer in any of the classic children's novels that we just looked at, but you may recognize some of these characters from things that you've read. Are these animals avian, equine, feline, or canine? Pause if you want to think about it for a second. Give it your best guess. The correct answer is canine. All these characters are dogs. Old Yeller is from the novel Old Yeller by Fred Gibson. Winn-Dixie is from Because of Winn-Dixie by Kate DiCamillo. And Old Dan and Little Ann are from Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. Now, Because of Winn-Dixie is a little bit more recent, but basically all of these are considered classic children's literature at this point. If you've not read any of them, you absolutely should. If you didn't know, avian refers to birds, equine refers to horses, and feline refers to cats. That's all for our training session today. Thanks for paying attention.